a household with husband working, wives working, and they're still struggling to just save up and buy a house. And like food is so expensive now. Why a 100K salary can't buy the American dream anymore? Things get expensive, that's why.
More than half of Americans say they would need at least $100,000 a year to be financially comfortable.
The benchmark of a
At
six-figure
least.
salary used to be the gold standard income. It represented the tipping point of finally earning a disposable income and building a savings, spending based on your wants, not just your needs.
The American dream is what makes a middle-class lifestyle. You're able to pay your bills. You're able to put food on the table, put a roof over your family's head, and you have some additional savings.
Now, people making well over six figures are still living paycheck to paycheck. What used to symbolize financial freedom is now keeping people stressed about making ends meet.
26% say they would need more. A salary in the range of $100,000 to $149,000 per year would make them feel financially comfortable.
I think, unfortunately, what is
Yeah, I would say if you're single, live by yourself, or at least if you're live with someone but don't have kids, then 100K may be enough. And if you don't live in New York or LA or something, then sure, 100K is, should be enough. But if you have kids, man, they're expensive.
has happened is that wages haven't kept up with the cost of living.
And like, don't kids get sick and you have to bring them to the hospital and medical bill is crazy.
By and large, for the last 50 years or so. And so it becomes increasingly hard for many families to be able to attain that sort of middle-class lifestyle, that American dream.
How much you need to feel financially secure varies so much depending on not only your geographical location, but of course your lifestyle. It used to be that a six-figure salary was like the gold standard, but nowadays that may not be enough to make ends meet in certain parts of the country, especially like New York or San Francisco, where it costs so much more just to cover your daily expenses.
There we go.
Here's why a $100,000 household income no longer buys the American dream.
What is the American dream anyways? Is it that you finish school, you find a good job, you get married, you buy a house, you buy a decent car, then you have kids, and then you work until you retire, and that's it? That's the American dream, right? That's what everybody wants.
Go Banking Rates analyzed how much a family of 2 adults and 2 children would need in each state to own a home, a car, and a pet, as well as have an additional 20% of their income for savings and 30% for discretionary spending.
The core of what the American dream means is some amount of economic security, that you feel like you can get by and do a bit better. Maybe do better than your parents, maybe be able to afford a house, certainly be able to save for your children's future.
All 50 states require more than a $100,000 annual income, with 38 states needing more than $140,000.
Isn't that crazy? Like back then, a single household only need one stream of income, and that's from the husband going to work. And the house usually just stay home, take care of the house, take care of the kids, and they were still make enough to buy a house, sustain their lifestyle. And now a household with husband working, wives working, and they're still struggling to just save up and buy a house. And like food is so expensive now. 100K is apparently not enough anymore. Wow.
The most affordable states, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Kentucky, need between $109,000 and $117,000. The median income for a household of 4 people in each of those states in 2022 was between $71,000 and $87,000. Hawaii, California, and Massachusetts are the most expensive. Each requires an annual income of more than $240,000.
Jesus.
The median income for a family of 4 in those 3 states in 2022 fell at least $94,000 short of what's required for the American dream. A different analysis from EPI found that in about 80% of the country, a family of 4 can afford their basic needs on less than $100,000 per year. Those include things such as housing, food, transportation, healthcare, childcare, taxes, and a few other basic necessities.
It doesn't take into account anything extra. It's really just putting food on the table, putting a roof over your head, getting health care for your family. And so you're not saving for a rainy day if something happens to somebody or if they lose their job.
So they're saying 100K, it's like if you cut down on everything except the necessity. So like paying for house, paying for car, transportation, paying for food, healthcare, yada yada, and then that's it. 100K should be enough. But no fun things. You guys don't get to, I don't know, buy video games. There's not extra money to save, and there's no fun money to go try new things. That sucks.
There's no extra in there for retirement, for kids' college. Those are the kinds of things that many people want to save for. Those are the many things that people consider a part of the American dream.
So you're literally saying 100K should be enough, but that's gonna put you to keep working for that paycheck every single month, surviving from paycheck to paycheck. No saving, no investing, no fun things. 100K is not enough.
Only about 3% of those counties have a median income higher than the basic cost of living.
The idea behind the American dream hasn't really changed, even though lifestyles have. It used to be that you could get out of school, get a job, buy a home, and start a family, and now those milestones are harder to achieve.
It used to be that a high school degree, you're good to go. You could get a great job building cars or something and be right in the middle class off of a high school degree. But now, in order to get into the middle class, a high school degree is clearly not enough, right? Now, you gotta pay for college.
People are graduating with much larger student loan balances, and then it's harder to be on that same sort of career trajectory that would provide the stability that you maybe would have had a generation ago to save up for the down payment on a home.
Student loan debt reached an all-time high of $1.77 trillion in the first quarter of 2023. This can have a ripple effect, especially when entire generations are starting their adulthoods with thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah, like imagine when you finish school and then you're ready to start your adulthood, so you go out there and get a job. But the people with student loan, they're literally playing life on hardcore mode. They got to start from negative. And every month, that debt is getting larger and larger because of interest.
So when we think about the kinds of investments you want to make for your children, the cost of college has gone up a lot faster than overall inflation. So trying to make those investments on a smaller and smaller paycheck compared to the cost of living can be very difficult and almost impossible. And so the kinds of debt that young people can rack up going to college gets larger and larger, and your ability to then make ends meet yourself, be able to buy a car, be able to move out of your parents' house, those things become much more difficult over time.
The American dream typically is people owning property and having children, but that's becoming largely inaccessible for many people. And even those who have attained these things are finding themselves managing every dollar coming in and out just to stay afloat. So that trade-off is underlying the new cost of the American dream.
Millennials and Gen Zers still want to buy homes despite feeling like they can't afford it. 62% of younger millennials and 63% of Gen Zers still say owning a home is part of the American dream. 66% of U.S. renters surveyed say rising prices leave them feeling hopeless about ever owning a home. 72% of respondents say they can't afford the down payment.
Yeah, and problem, like everyone wants a home. They want a stable place to live and to grow up, to build something for their own. But the thing is, it's so hard for people to do that now. And the fact that people don't have the stability of owning a house along with high cost of living. And we're going to see this in a few years of like, nobody wants to have kids anymore. I mean, I'm not planning to have kids anytime soon. It's just too expensive. Like everyone's just going to focus on their career, focusing on, how do they make more money? It's like, it's a survival mode. Everyone is switching to a survival mode. When you're just busy surviving, you're not planning to have kids because they're going to be a burden. They're going to take time out of your day, take money out of your pocket because, kids cost money.
17% of all homebuyers said that saving for the down payment was the most difficult task in the buying process. And 52% said student loan debt delayed their ability to save.
Yeah, because why would they save when they have to pay bills? Like their debt's literally getting larger by day if they don't pay it off. So any extra money should immediately go towards the student loan.
The typical first-time homebuyer in 2022 had a household income of $95,900. Nationally, a prospective homebuyer would need a nearly $110,000 salary to afford the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payments on a median price home.
Dang.
But the median household income in the United States in 2022 was a little under $75,000.
If you're born into a nice neighborhood in which your parents have lots of wealth and lots of income, your chances of doing well are vastly improved.
Collectively, Americans owe $1.13 trillion on their credit cards.
Inflation, it's eroding people's purchasing power. It's reducing their ability to save for their future or invest in these long-term goals. So that loss of financial stability can create a sense of powerlessness and insecurity and contribute to feelings of uncertainty and vulnerability. It can really impact people's self-esteem, their resilience, their overall psychological health.
Economists have suggested that debt growth became a substitution for income growth. More than a quarter of Americans said that they are doom spending or spending money despite economic concerns.
There's also this idea that young adults are feeling more discouraged in their own financial standing. So in that way, they're less inclined to even save for long-term goals and more likely to just live in the moment. It's just sort of that mentality, like you only live once, I may not buy a home anyway, so let's take that trip or let's go to that event, whether it's a Taylor Swift concert or other, big ticket item.
They don't have much to save. When you're not educated on the power of compound interest and you only have just a tiny bit to save, let's say you only have $100, $200 to save every month, and then by the end of the year got a couple grand, and with the inflation just keep going up, they just feel like, oh, I might as well just spend my money. Like there's no point of saving. The fact that people don't make enough and things keep getting more expensive, even if they keep saving, like I'm not saying saving is bad, it's just that when they try saving and then after a year they're just like, oh, this chunk of money is I feel like it's not gonna make a difference, like it's not enough to put down a down payment on a house. I feel like that's the mentality of everyone, of like it can't save enough, so therefore they just like might as well just spend it rather than let it devalue by inflation.
93% of Gen Zers say the current economy makes it difficult to set up long-term goals.
And it's not just about revenge spending. It's just about wanting to enjoy life and make the most of what you have, even if you can't necessarily buy that home or, you're not starting a family just yet and you really want to, feel good about yourself in the moment.
And also people spend money because let's say they hate the job that they are going to, but they're forced to stay there because they, living paycheck to paycheck. So at the end of the day, in order to escape the reality, they have to spend money to do something, whether it's going out and drink alcohol, that should cost money. Whether they just, scroll the internet, online shopping just to get the stress out. So there's so many factors, right? It's not just YOLO. It's not that this generation, you only live once, but it's more of like the people trying to cope with their real life. They're trying to escape it by spending money, by doing activities. And sometimes activities cost money. And also they mentioned the fact that people don't care about the long-term goals anymore. It's because when you're on survival mode, you're just trying to get through the next day. So you're just living day by day by day. Let's just say you just have enough energy to survive the next 24 hours. You know damn well the next 24 hours you're gonna go and hunt for food just so you can keep surviving. So if people don't have like a reserved amount of money or energy in this example, they're not gonna worry about the next 10 years, the next 20 years. They're just gonna worry about like, okay, how am I gonna pay rent next month?
Are indulging to the extreme. And I think we often buy because we think that it's going to change our life or it's going to give us this emotion that we feel like we're missing. And it's like an endless trail of spending and constantly going to make us feel empty because we're externalizing something that we need to give to ourselves. I think that's a big issue with consumerism and it's running rampant.
Social media has changed the conversation so much because there's just been this abundance of the ability to see these glamorous, glorified lifestyles. It's not only celebrities that are presenting themselves this way, but even your own peers, which makes a lot of people feel like they're just not measuring up. They can't financially compete with what they're seeing online. It has left a lot of people, especially young adults, feeling very discouraged in their own financial standing. Even if they're doing okay, they just may not feel that way when they compare themselves to what they're seeing on social media.
The question is, are you able, given kind of the luck of the birth lottery, are you able to have opportunities that are the same as those of people who may have been born into families that are in better circumstances than your own? The American dream is all about it shouldn't matter. The birth lottery shouldn't matter, right? So it's deeply relative.
What did he say? The birth lottery shouldn't matter? Oh, it does, dude. Whether you were born in a high-income, middle-class family or upper-class family, or whether you were born in the U.S. or you were born in a third world country, like there's so many things to blame. We can blame so many things, right? We can blame that consumerism. We can blame social media for making us buying things that we don't need. We can blame people not having the right financial education and they don't know how to spend money. But at the end of the day, it's still the environment. It's still the high cost of living. It's like the people nowadays are just playing hardcore mode. Like it's much more expensive to buy a house now compared to our grandparents back in the day, the boomers, right? So